Can you all see it now?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so, I'm going to start here at goal of a research proposal. So there are two main goals, like I already gave to you: presenting and justifying the need to study a research problem, and presenting practical ways in which the proposed study should be conducted. And to help you in writing, someone has created this wonderful website that I guess now I would not be able to get to it. If you click on the website, if you actually click on the website, if you have the presentation, it will send it to those who don't. And I cannot get to it. It actually gives you transitions from different parts of your proposal that you can use that are just common phrases for you to use in your proposal. And now it is frozen. So the important parts of your proposal, for your purposes, you might want to give it a title page so we know what you're actually researching. You're going to have an abstract in there. I'm going to show you those, some background. Please have some references, which means you actually did some reading about the information you're researching. Innovation, you want to have a research proposal on something someone has not done already. The significance, which kind of goes with innovation. We'll go over research design and methods. And the most important part of your proposal is going to be the specific aims page. And I'm going to show you that specific aims page. Hopefully I can share that with you also. Okay. So about each piece of the research report, for your background, you want to focus on any development that led directly to this project. So that's the information you're going to get by reading maybe journal articles. Since you're working with a mentor, you can talk to them to see why they wrote their proposal, what you're working on. And from that background, you're going to get this gap in knowledge. There's something missing that you need to write about in the proposal, that this is the problem you want to solve. And that gap in knowledge goes along with the purpose. What are you trying to aim to do with this project to get to the gap in knowledge? And then your approach is going to be your methods. So you can use surveys, focus groups, chart reviewing. All that information is going to go in your proposal. But the biggest thing, if you don't put down the purpose, which is going to kind of come in what we call your hypothesis, you can't show us how brilliantly you achieved your approach. So the purpose is going to be the most important part inside of your research proposal also. So in the proposal, you might want to put some preliminary results, like a couple of pictures that represents where you're going. So everyone understands it's not your entire project, but just some small pictures that say, this is why I'm doing this part of my project. The significance, it's what does it mean if you solve your problem? So whatever problem X is, you want to try to give us a reason why we should be interested in your research proposal. And in there, towards the end, you want to go beyond the solved problem. So what are the implications of you actually solving this problem through your research? And then you want to give us the next steps. If your project can be completed, what could be another proposal that can come with your research that you're trying to do? So any questions about these core elements? which will be all in your proposal. So I'm going to open up another document, and I hope this works. I sent you all a proposal. And I'm not sure how to get to it now. Whiteboard. Nope. Okay. Actually, so for those who have the proposal, and I'm not sure how I can share that content because it's not in my Google Drive, but give me one moment, ladies. I'm trying to get the other information up for you because those who did not have it. So Katana, I just sent you an email with 2 documents. Can you see if you can share those for me? Starting with the one that says specific aims.
I'm trying to locate it. It hasn't come through yet. There it goes.
So here is probably the first page of a proposal that anyone would read. And it's a specific aims page. Hope everyone can see it. So the area I highlighted in yellow is all the background information for a written proposal. And for this proposal, my focus was triple negative breast cancer. So in about, I think about less than maybe about 8 sentences, I was able to give a quick background of what triple negative breast cancer was. I gave them all the parts of my proposal that I was interested in. So the first 2 sentences, the first about 3 sentences, all talk about triple negative breast cancer and why they're related to information in my project. So I was interested in 3 things, something called, it's written there, the epithelial mesenchymal transition. I was interested in a protein called snail transcription factor. I was interested in another protein, cathepsin L, and then I also wanted to know how I can treat it. So there is a sentence for each, which briefly tells them why I'm writing this proposal, and this is my background. So you can see how short it is. The next area that I highlighted in pink, you can see how short it is. It talks about my preliminary data. And that preliminary data, we'll talk about where you put them in at. It just mentions what I've seen, which is another reason why I'm writing the proposal. And then the last sentence before you write out the aims should be your hypothesis, which is highlighted there in like a light blue color. And you want to point out that it is your hypothesis. So starting out the sentence, therefore the overall hypothesis, tells them what they are looking for. You want to make it as simple as you can in any proposal that you write, so people know the goal and what you want out of your proposal. Any questions about the first part of the Pacific Games? Okay. And then the next part of the page, and usually it's just one page, you want to write your Pacific Aims. So for this one, and most people stick to 2 unless you're going for really big things. And for the 2, they have sub portions. So for Pacific Aim 1, you can see I have 3 parts. And also for Pacific Aim 2, I have 3 parts. And for each aim, I tell them what I want to do. So the first one, it says determine whether SNAIL promotes nuclear localization of cathepsin L and EMT in triple negative breast cancer. And then I gave them a brief rationale of why I'm looking into that. And if you notice, these little brief rationale kind of go back to what's in my background. And then I just list what I'm going to do in each part. Any questions? Any questions for this first page of your Pacific Aims? And I believe you guys do receive, I'm not sure if you can correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie or Katana, on how the information they want in a proposal. For any proposal that you write, whatever level you're going into, graduate, even into academics, there is a document that you follow that tells you exactly what to put in your proposal. So this information I didn't pull out the air. I followed a template that someone gave me to write the proposal. What should I include? A background, a hypothesis, what my aim should look like, and I believe you guys should get that information. And so questions about Pacific Aims, which is going to be your most important page in your proposal. Anybody? Anyone? Anyone? No. Okay. So Katana, can you share the second document?
Can you guys see it?
I see it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now I send it you as separate pages, but this is usually one full document. And the next page after your Pacific Aims is usually your research strategy. So that's usually the title of this page. And the next thing you want to write, which I highlighted there in yellow, is the significance. Significance tells you why you are writing this entire research proposal. And it's almost the same as some of the information you put in that early background of your abstract, but you cannot write the exact same thing. So it can relate to what I put in the background. So in that background pages, I wrote about 3 sentences about triple negative breast cancer. But if you read them and read the significance, they're related, but they're different. So they can be on the same theme, and there might have been something you read in an article somewhere that you can put some of the information in, but you want to be able to tell them a good significant portion of why your proposal is needed. And the next little sections, you just want to give them a brief introduction to the info that was in the background. So if you go back to that background page, I talked about very briefly, probably like one sentence, the epithelial mesenchymal transition. But here in this document, I expanded on it. So for each thing that I thought was important they need to know about, I gave a background. And Katana, can you scroll the page up? So there was, yeah, keep scrolling. So for each, there was snail transcription factor I mentioned in the background. Cathepsin L I mentioned in the background. I gave them a brief description of everything that was important that I mentioned in the background in one sentence. I expanded on in this research strategy. And you don't have to be long-winded, because usually in this section, which I don't think they limited to you in your RISE proposal, in real research proposal, this whole section can only be 6 pages. And in these 6 pages, you got to give a good literature background along with explaining your research methods. So I'm also going to point out under the little section that says muscadine grapeskin extract, you see I have a little preliminary figure here. Like this tells them why I want to use this extract and how it affected the information I'm looking at. So adding little figures tell them you're on some type of path to get to your answer. And you want to make them as neat as possible, because I can tell you for one thing, for most people who read proposals, they really don't pay attention too much to your writing. They like the pictures and they like the Pacific Aims page. So if your preliminary pictures give them a good look at what you're trying to do, they're usually more likely to want to go back and read the whole proposal, and also more likely to want to fund the proposal. So you can scroll up, Katana, to the next section. Should be almost highlighted. Yes. So right here in pink, come down a little bit. So this is the next important area in the proposal that you need to mention at the end of your background is your innovation. The innovation in a proposal tells them this has never been done before. It gives them an extension of what has been done and how yours can be very different and bring more to the field, no matter what you're going into. So there is some, you see some more preliminary data to show them that no one has ever given out this information. And then once again, the last sentence of your innovation should put down your hypothesis, because you never want them to forget your hypothesis of your proposal. And then after you finish this whole section on innovation, you're going to go into your specific aims by writing out all your aims again with your research methods. So if you scroll up a little bit, Katana, to that little blue section, you can stop right there, bring it down just a little bit. There you go. So this first blue section I highlighted is dealing with aim 1 for my Pacific Aims. And if you look at it very briefly, you can look at it on your own time. I basically kind of put the same thing from the Pacific Aim, added a little bit more background, and some of the transition words, which is probably like the last sentence, based on these findings, we will investigate the following. Tells them, I'm getting ready to explain to you, these are my methods that I will use, which you use later on when you write your paper, on how I'm going to achieve these aims. So for each aim, I had 3 parts. So I talk about each part, how I briefly think I can get to each part. So 1A, I just repeat what I put in the aim and give them my method. You can scroll up some more, Katana. And then, so I did it for 1B. Did the same thing, just took the information from my Pacific Aims page. You can scroll up some more. And did the same thing for 1C. You can stop right there. And after you've explained how you think is the best way to do your method, the next important part of your proposal, your method may be flawed. So let's say I had some things in here, like I think it's up there pretty close. I want to perform, it says right before the little red section, an invasion assay and a migration assay. So let's say while I do the experiment, they do not work. For every experiment or whatever method I'm using, I have to have an alternative. So usually for each sub-aim, as I will call them, you want to give them your expected result, but you also want to put down your potential limitations and a quick alternative approach. That also tells them, you know, I'm not perfect, but I know there could be mistakes, but there could be another way that I can do this research work. So this little next section is pretty short, but it's probably one of the most important parts because it tells the reader or the person who you might want to get your proposal funded by, they are also thinking outside of the normal box, that there is more to get to the answer of your question. Any questions about this section? So I'm gonna keep on going. I did the same thing. So aim 2, I did the exact same thing. Wrote out all my approaches for aim 2. You can scroll down, Katana, please. The same thing, you can scroll all the way through it. I wrote down everything, and there is a section on expected results. And then once you're at the end of your proposal, you want to give them a conclusion. So a very small discussion, which kind of repeats why you're doing it. If you read through it, it also tells them what can be done with the proposal, because I'm interested for this proposal, a natural way to treat cancer. So that's also part of my innovation area. It's also part of how this can be important to triple negative breast cancer in a few sentences. And after that, it might have I'm not sure if it's in this document, but usually all those references would be at the end of your research strategy. So I might go on to a next page, and I'm not sure if the next page I added, but that last page would have all your references. So if the person wanted to, they can go back and look at some of the articles to make sure you're not repeating the same information or you're actually doing something new. And I don't think, are there any more pages after that, Katana?
No.
Okay, it's not, that's fine. So these, I guess it's a total of 7 pages that I've given you. And by the time you finish a proposal, you give them all the information you've given them. You may have a total of 8 or 9 pages with the references. So it's usually short to the point, and you want to make sure you're always getting your point across. So you always keep repeating your point in the proposal so they know what your focus is, and you want to keep them on track. So, okay. Is there, I don't think I had any, actually do. No, I don't think there's anything left in the PowerPoint that I was going to share you. Just my contact information is in the last slide of the PowerPoint that I had. But I do, if anyone has any questions about a proposal or, how you're going to go about doing the information in your mentor's lab, any questions, you can put them in the chat box if you don't want to say anything out loud.
You may have already said this, but are proposals mainly just for like getting grants, or can you use them for like other things as well?
In my line of work, they're mainly used to get grants. So you're proposing to do a study. Most people use them to get grants. If you're going into graduate school programs, you usually can use these, most people use these proposals to say, I want to do this work in this person's lab. So it's usually not for grant money. But most proposals, most people are trying to say, can you fund this grant so I can do the work?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so someone asked the question, would you recommend writing a research proposal this summer as practice, even if we don't have to complete one? Yes, I would recommend it, because one thing about these research proposals, especially depending on what you plan on doing, writing a research proposal takes practice. I can say the mentor I had in graduate school, the first thing she had me do, she gave me 10 proposals, and I had to read them and say which one I would fund, which is a good proposal that I would later on, say something I would use. So I would first read your mentor's proposal if they would let you, and then also try practicing the language of a proposal. Because if you actually read through the proposal, there's certain things that a reader is looking for. So especially those transition word uh, website that I gave you, look at those transition words and compare them to the proposal that I've given you, because there's certain words that we want. So in the aims, you always want to say to determine is what you should start with. You should always say my overall hypothesis in any portion. So you want to get the scientific grammar down, which is more important than, which is very important in getting the research proposal down. So it takes practice, it takes time, because the main goal, depending on what you want to do, if you want someone to fund your grant, you want to have a good grasp of the writing.
Hey, I just wanted to say, y'all won't be required to do a research proposal for this summer, but you will have to do one in the fall. But one thing you will have to do is present your research at the end of the program, which would be more like a literature review, because it's virtual and y'all only have 8 weeks. So I definitely feel like y'all should take the opportunity to practice this and go ahead and get started.
Okay.
And you get more details of what we're expecting for your presentation, but some of the stuff that goes in a research proposal will be stuff you will need for your presentation as well, but not as detailed as a proposal.
Any other questions? Okay, I didn't chat. Okay. So, yeah. So that is a good idea, because you want to get a good grasp of how other people write their proposals, especially in the field that you're going into. Mine is geared towards biology or any type of things dealing with biology, but people in the field of psychology may write a little different. People in chemistry, depending on what they're looking into, they may have a way that they write. The same thing for computer science. Everyone, depending on your field, has a different writing style or a different language that tells the readers how your proposal should go. So if your mentor is willing, you can ask them, well, can I read an old proposal? Nothing maybe new. So you can get a sense of how things are written in that area of research. Anything else, ladies? If not, I know I send it to a few people. I am going to put my email here in the chat box. If you do have any outside questions about writing a research proposal, or what's next after undergrad, like going into graduate school, or I just completed my postdoctoral fellowship, so I have information on that. And if you wanted to know about what happens after graduate school, depending on what you're going into, feel free to reach out. If there are no more questions, I don't have anything else for you.
Okay, thank you. I'll make sure I provide your email if they don't have your email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
ladies.
Thank you.
And have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome.